Welcome to episode 97 of Stageworthy. I'm your host, Phil Rickaby. We're just a few weeks away from the 100th episode of Stageworthy, which will be released on October 31st. Episode 100 is a pretty significant milestone in the life of any podcast, and I'm super proud to have reached it. In the coming weeks, you'll see some special posts celebrating the 100th episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can find Stageworthy on all three platforms at StageworthyPod. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the podcast to get the latest episode delivered right to your device. You can find Stageworthy on Apple Podcasts, Google Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, and you want to help me celebrate the 100th episode, please consider leaving a comment or rating on Apple Podcasts. Ratings and comments help new listeners find the show. My guest this week is Nigel Shawn Williams. Nigel is an actor and director, the former co-artistic director of the Factory Theatre, and a four-time Dora Award winner. He is currently directing Cahoots and Obsidian Theatre's Other Side of the Game by Amanda Parris, opening October 14th at Aki Studio in Toronto. How's it coming?
It's coming along really well now. Now that we've in our third week, we've moved into a new space where the design actually fits in. We were at Cahoots.
Oh yeah.
And Cahoots is like, it's a lovely space, but just the stage doesn't fit there.
Well, it's right around the corner from
you. Yeah. So we were doing 2 weeks of needing to bust out. Now we're in a bigger space, and I can actually work on timings and it's good for the actors because they can actually really breathe and get into it now. So
yeah. So, what can you tell me about the other side of the game?
What can I tell you about it? It's a it's a fantastically well crafted play by Amanda Parris, and it investigates it investigates this cycle of criminal injustice against young blacks, and but really it's what toll it has on black women. This revolving door of going in and out of jail, right? But in that same light, it investigates street and hood culture.
Okay.
And I think that we generally have a very stereotypical view of what that is, and it investigates what ride or die really means, like that culture of but that's devotion and loyalty and love. It's not just integrated with drugs and violence and criminality. It's much more closer than that. It's family. Yeah. But at the same time, the play is fantastic, but because it also goes into, it investigates the 1970s and the very little known civil rights movement that was happening in Toronto, and it talks about activism, and it's a great mirror of the activism that was happening in Toronto in the 70s, but where we are now. And I think it's asking questions of are we learning from history? Why are we repeating the same thing? But it doesn't just put a mirror on the black culture and the black community. It's a larger issue for all of us.
It's interesting because my perception of black culture is a little bit my brother is black, so I've sort of had a mirror, but I haven't had obviously the same experiences as he has. I've never been pulled over for driving while black and things like that.
Are you adopted, or is it like mixed race? He's adopted, right?
So,
okay.
So it's our experiences are different, and there's things I see and there's things I don't see. But it's sort of interesting because I think that white Canada doesn't think of the incarceration of black men as an American problem.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we think about the civil rights movement as an American problem.
Or an American movement.
Yeah, because
I don't think it was a problem.
No. Problem was the wrong.
Sorry, no, just fucking.
Yeah. But it's like we allow ourselves to be smug as white Canadians in a way that allows us to ignore the racism that exists because it's not as overt as in America and Canada.
Yeah. Like I think that I'm coming to more and more of an understanding that we should actually stop comparing our racial history in Canada and the United States. They're linked absolutely, and there's veins and there's tissue that are connected, but the history is completely different. And you're right that I think that Canada has a very safe and smug and dishonest memory of racism and slavery in this country, and therefore this systemic feeling of racism that whites have against black or people of color. I think it's larger. I think it becomes more. We have to kind of talk about and investigate colonial patriarchy.
Yeah.
I think that it has everything to do. Centuries and centuries of European countries taking over cultures and making it their own and dehumanizing. Those who lived on that land, regardless of whether we talk about indigenous people or Africans or even like the Spanish or there's the Chinese like years and years ago. And I think that when we talk of white supremacy, I believe it's different than white supremacists.
Yes.
Like I think that we historically have had this ideal of white supremacy.
Yes.
And I think that is what we kind of need to work on. And investigating and activating the silent liberal majority of whites who, and I think that we're starting to see it with this whole NFL and kneeling thing. Right? There's that question of where were these other players, white and black, and of other color, where were they 4 days before Donald Trump spoke, and that's it's interesting to talk about, and it's interesting to bring up, but like I think that is steeped in they might have been there ready, but what activated them? I think we have to talk about what is activism to us personally and individually. That's a bit of a roundabout conversation.
Because it's interesting when you talk about the separating of the discussion from the American experience and the Canadian. It's so difficult to do that when so much of our culture in Canada is, and infected is the wrong word, but infected by American culture in TV, movies, and all these other things.
Yeah, it's totally the right word.
Yeah, we can barely remove ourselves when you have people who, are in some places in Canada who are wearing "Make America Great Again" hats. Like they can't separate themselves from the American experience. It's a strange phenomenon that we're stuck in this.
Yeah, or they don't want to. But I think that has everything to do with one of the aspects of this play that I think that Amanda Parris is bringing up is that we really have to learn from our history, and I think until. Canada has to learn from its own history before it can take on another country's history. And I think that Canada's Canadians need to own their own history, look at it, delve into it in and of itself, and learn, heal, act upon, and then we can cast aspersions or look at comparisons and things like that. But it's a complex issue. Like it's not necessarily easier said than done, because in a lot of ways we, just like the civil rights movement, the civil rights movement in Canada learned from the civil rights movement in the United States of America, and took many cues from it, but also learned a lot of what was working, but what wasn't working. But then the conversation becomes generational. Like what is, an activist who lived through the civil rights movement in the United States in the 60s comes to Canada in the 70s and 80s and is now having a conversation with a 21-year-old activist who thinks that has not learned anything and thinks that violence and disruption is the way to go.
Right.
And so it's It's a very delicate cycle.
Are there things that you learned from this play that you didn't know?
Oh, there's a lot. Oh, that's why I love theater. That's why I love directing. I'm very much aware of how much I don't know, and I learned a lot about about Toronto's civil rights movement, and I'm learning a great deal about the intricacies of the Black Lives Matter movement, and
right.
I think that I am very much as guilty as anyone else about hearing a certain amount of information from the news and then not seeking more information about certain subjects, and that's absolutely. I thank Amanda very much for opening up my appetite to learn more about Toronto's history and the Black community in Toronto and how we've grown, but also very small amounts of history, like talking about Buddy Evans and Albert Johnson, which is not so far away, but these systemic and constant Black men that are targeted and killed, and we don't necessarily always put that front and center, and it's easier for the news to talk about the mental state of that Black man rather than why was it necessary to put 3 bullets in him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a cheery topic.
Yes. Well, but the thing is that like these are conversations that we as Canadians need to have.
They're necessary conversations.
They are absolutely necessary conversations, and it's been really easy. And I remember I was in a few years ago. I was in New York, and there was, just as the Black Lives Matter movement was really sort of starting, just after the Eric Garvey killing, and there was a massive protest when we were there. And it was moving through the streets of New York. And my girlfriend at the time, we were sort of like found ourselves in the middle of it. And we caught ourselves with white Canadian smugness. Like, isn't it great that we live in a country where this stuff doesn't happen?
Right.
And where, not the protest, but that, Black men are not being killed in this way.
Right. Because,
of course, it's not in the news. It's not something that we hear about all the time. We walked away feeling like we allowed ourselves to feel really smug, and it was only a little while later that we started to think about the truth of it. I started having conversations with my brother about his experience and things like that, and I realized that it's not, it's not. But we allow ourselves as white Canadians to just sort of like feel like, oh, that doesn't happen here. Because it doesn't happen to us.
But it does, and that does. And it's just, it's the amount that it happens is probably not as, as told as much in the US. I don't think that maybe the overt friction is not there, but also, I think that our, the history and the way that I think the United States of America is steeped in a certain attitude towards race. I just want to make sure that we don't get into, I want to make sure that all police officers are not the same.
Yeah.
Right. One has to, appreciate the men and women who count to 5 before making it like a reaction, but there are shootings often and brutality as like the one that happened in the news in Durham, and then there was like, well, why wasn't the SIU called? But I think that if we start opening the newspaper and turning to page 6 or 7, we'll actually we'll find that news story and they're there, but they're not front and center because it's not important. And I think that the barometer pressure of people of color in the world is getting to a point where where the conversation is being forced to change. And I think that that's exactly where the temperature was with the Black Lives Matter protest at the Pride Parade last year.
Yeah.
And it's not waiting for white privilege or whites to sit down and say, we're ready to talk, right? I think the conversation has to change, but there's a lot of people who are getting tired of having the same freaking conversation.
It's similar to
race.
the conversation. Yeah, I've been to a bunch of diversity panels.
Yeah.
Where we have this, it's sort of the same. We have the same conversation.
Yeah.
It's diversity panel. We talk about, how do we get more people of color into the theater? How do we have more stages? And we have the same conversation over and over.
Yeah. It's
the same sort of thing. Absolutely. It's frustrating. And I'm not even the one who should be really tired of having that conversation, because, people of color should be like, why are we waiting for this? Because often those things are put on by predominantly white theaters and things like that.
Yeah. I think really, how do you have more artists of color in your company? How do you have more administrative staff representing red privilege? Well, the answer is just
you hire them.
Can I swear?
Yeah, fuck yes. Yeah.
The answer is fucking do it.
Yeah.
The answer is just stop talking about it and look at the world in color.
Yeah.
And I think that if certain organizations were really passionate about inclusiveness, then they should look at the leadership in their company.
Yeah.
And if it's coming from an artistic point of view, then just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Then, that just look at things differently. But there is still, I think people are very nervous about, what if I do it wrong? Well, do it wrong, make a mistake. But have a conversation one-on-one, maybe with someone that you respect.
Yeah.
Talk to Nina Liakino about something specific, not in a broad way, because, Nina's getting tired of the conversation. Like, look what Factory Theaters, they're just doing it.
Yeah.
They're just doing it.
There's no conversation.
No, there's no fucking conversation.
Yeah.
Because she's just doing it.
Yeah.
But it's just that she sees the world the way that the world should be.
Yeah.
And also it's acting in a way and having values and principles artistically in a way that you see color. You don't deny it.
Yes.
Because the one thing that burns me is when someone says colorblind casting.
Yeah, no.
And that only comes from the white side of the table. Artists of color want to be seen.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to be cast in a restoration play. I'm not going to act white. I'm not going to pretend that I'm white. But at the same time, there's no reason why, we can't be in I'm just out of my ass, like Death of a Salesman.
Yeah.
And you and I could be brothers.
Yeah.
Like there's,
absolutely.
you can expand the story, but at the same time, you just have to be fucking smart about it.
Yeah.
But there's such a fear, I think, of making mistakes. There's no one's going to learn. No one's going to learn from anything else. Just try it, make a mistake, do something. Then we'll let you know.
Yeah. But and then at least you will have tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But doing nothing is cowardice.
Yeah.
And having the same conversation is boring.
The same conversation lets a lot of white people feel better. At least we're having the conversation. But, last time I saw Nina Liakino at one of those things, she was done.
Yeah.
Like, she's tired of this conversation.
Yeah.
And so she should be. Because she has a conversation and nothing happens.
Artists of color, and I can't, I have so much respect for Nina and her patience for not punching people in their throats like years and years ago. But it is our responsibility to continue to educate. And it's our responsibility to take a breath and say, absolutely, this is what you should do. But the thing is after a while, it gets really, really fucking tiring of saying the same thing over and over again to the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm glad that the conversation was being had. But now the conversation needs to change because the diversity committees are, I don't understand there's nothing active about the word, diversity. Like it's, like you can be inclusive, like just do something that is active. Like a diversity committee is, I used to say this to Nina when we were hanging out a lot together working at the factory, is that diversity has become a word like innovation.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know how you act upon that. Everyone is trying to be innovative.
Yes.
Everyone is trying to be diverse.
Yes.
So I don't know what, like, that conversation has to change. I think the title on that conference card of that program of that little talk for 2.5 hours has to change.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because these panels, they end and then everybody goes away feeling good. We had the conversation, but
not everyone feels good about going away from it. That's
Sorry.
For sure.
Yes.
I know.
To be corrected. Thank you. But like, a bunch of people walk away feeling good. Some bunch of people walk away feeling frustrated, but there's no action that comes out of it. If you're going to have the conversation, if you're going to have the real conversation, like when you go into a meeting at work, you leave with action items.
Yes, absolutely.
And we leave without action items, so everything stays at the status quo.
Yeah. Unless there's actionables, and then there's like follow up.
Yeah.
Then when should we follow up to make sure that this theater company is doing this? What is it that you want to do?
Yeah.
To change things, and so all right, let's all witness this action, and let's have you put that into place. How does 9 months sound?
Yep.
All right, so we'll get together in 11 months and see how you're doing.
Yeah.
All right, and then therefore, what is the actions if you fail, or if you haven't come through?
Yeah.
Yeah. Public Now magazine shaming, stage-worthy shaming.
Well, fuck yes. We should be shaming when that sort of stuff happens. Just to change gears a little bit, because
totally.
I want to. This is a great conversation, but there's other things that I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, because one of the things I like to examine on the podcast is the reasons why people go into this world of theater. Like, what is it that draws you into theater? Do you remember what it was that made you first want to do it?
It made me like to pursue it professionally, as in when did I decide I wanted to go to university?
Let's go before that. What was your first exposure to theater? As what made you want to perform?
And I'm just going back now because I'm 88 years old. So I'm in a lot of ways I'm just like any other artist that there was a teacher in high school that I went to Dunbarton High School in Pickering, and in grade 10, there was they offered theater classes, but also at that time, they had theater sports at lunch.
Oh shit! Really?
And yeah. I went to high school with this guy Phil Nickel, and I'm not sure if you remember that comedy troupe called Corky and the Juice Pigs.
Yeah.
That's where Shawn Cullen came from. Like Phil and Shawn and Greg Neal and Joe Costa. They all went to the University of Windsor.
Right.
Anyway, I'm going ahead, but Phil Nickel was in my high school, and he was doing theater sports with a friend of his, like Chris Coombs, and this Barry Davis was his name. But Frank Luke was the theater teacher, and he made space for all this. He made space for theater sports, and he made space for theater arts courses that you could take from grade 10 all the way through grade 13 back then, when there was grade 13. And I think it was just that type of enthusiasm that Frank Luke had, but also he really, really gave a shit about theater, and he loved theater, but I think he really loved how it activated young people, and it got them out of their shells. And I don't know, I really can't remember why it. Like, I think it's because I was just I liked English. I liked I liked stories, and I just kind of fell into it. And then I think as theater school went on, I realized that there's a community there. There's a community of like-minded people who liked silliness and danger and putting yourself on the line, but also telling stories and having the interaction of a communication between and a performer and an audience, and that immediacy that never happens again. It's in a lot of ways the theater is one of the most fleeting arts. All performing arts. Like performing arts is a fleeting art. Like it's like that moment in time is happens and it's done. Never again. Where you get that, and that's something really exciting. And I think that as I got older, probably I could maybe articulate it, but I think that when I was younger, it was just gut instinct about what I'd liked to do and what I didn't want to do. I don't think I wanted to be an ophthalmologist anymore. And
Did you start wanting to be an
ophthalmologist? I've always just been fascinated with the eye. With the biology, but also I think it's just a fascinating thing that we can see. And I'm fascinated by the individuals who cannot see and the biological technology of the eye. Anyway, sorry. But, and then just like many people, I had a huge battle with my parents when I wanted to go to university, and I ended up, winning, and I went to the University of Windsor, and I just think that it was one of those things that I don't know whether or not I was thinking, okay, so if I don't suck at this, or people who have not told me outright that I don't completely suck at this. So I fell in love with I think the community of artists, and then I fell in love with what the art is. Right. If that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense. Were you born in Pickering?
No, I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. I'm Jamaican.
When did you find yourself in Pickering?
Oh, we moved to Durham, I think. Oh, we moved quite a bit. I was in East End, or Scarborough, West Hill, and then Ajax, Pickering, and it's always been the East.
Yeah, I was Ajax for 10 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because it's funny because I went to Ajax High School.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Of course.
I went to St. Bernadette's.
Oh shit.
Yes.
You were right next door.
I know.
Yeah.
By that time my sister was in Ajax High.
Right.
And then my brother and I were still in grade school, but I think we only lasted in that Catholic school for 2 years. Wow. But even when we were moving, once I got to high school, I think I just said to my parents, I'm not changing schools anymore.
No, because changing schools is rough, and in high school you really kind of need you need to stay there.
But when I went to Dumbarton, we were still moving from Pickering to Ajax. Okay. But I just stayed at that high school. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is that if you're an Ajax High School person, I remember Dumbarton being the rival school.
Yes.
It was just
of rough hoodlums and theater artists.
What's funny, I don't even remember there was no reason for it. No. They were the high school. We played them in football.
Football,
I didn't even really give a shit about football, but everybody had a thing, so I immediately, the rival school.
Yeah, I played football. I didn't play high school. I played for the Pickering Bay Dolphins. I in that league. But for some reason in high school, I had no interest in freaking high school football. No. I played volleyball. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry. And they digress to Durham.
Well, you're getting a bunch of Ajax kids together, and what are we going to talk about? When did you figure out that this is what you were going to do? When you were going to go to university for it, and this was your calling. When did it become something that you did, that you enjoyed in high school, that it was going to be the thing that you studied and made your life?
I think pretty much right away in grade 10.
I think, really?
I think that as soon as I got in and I started watching theater sports, and I started participating in it, and I just got the bug, and then I was just taking the courses, but I think right from grade 10 it was just something that was extraordinary, and it was something that I'd never done or seen before, and it was a certain amount of blood pressure that I'd never felt before, that felt healthy, and but it was just I think my mind was working in a different way to tell a story, but also to how, to, look at stories. But then we were given so much free range. Like we were writing, bad plays and performing them and we were young, you're 15 years old and with a teacher that is giving you, allowing your imagination to be unleashed, and I think that allowability, and freedom of the spirit was something that I just didn't want to let go.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that's the age when you should be writing bad plays.
Oh my God.
Like, just fucking write. Yeah. Just like do whatever. You're going to learn so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you always want to be a director?
No, I don't think so. I think that I just wanted to, I just wanted to be an actor and learn how to be an actor. And then it turned into how can I become an actor that works? And then how can I be an actor that this is my only job. And then it turned into realizing that I was a self-employed, artist, and then it was a business. But no, I becoming a director, that taste didn't happen. Everything is in degrees, right? It sort of grows and blossoms. And I've always I love actors, and I've always loved working with a really good actor and the scene partner. And what hurt me the most is when I would hear stories from actors about bad experiences with directors. Whether or not it's verbal abuse or just not listening. There was like a generation of that shit. But being in rehearsal halls, and as I got a bit more with experience and as I got older, I started to realize that an actor would be having a conversation with a director, but the director actually wasn't listening to the actor.
Right.
It's not woeful. I don't want to hear you. It's actually just not understanding that, like what the simple need was from that actor.
Right.
And sometimes an actor needs to ask a question, but doesn't necessarily want an answer. Just needs to be heard, like out loud, an idea or a question. And I think that just by witnessing that and they got to the point of where I thought that if I was doing a show and I would look at the play and I'd see that you had a speech about a page and a half prior, I'll just start finding myself in a position that gives you a better position because I know it's coming.
Right.
I just started. I think I was always seeing things in a macro vision. And I never read a play. I never read a play with my character. I kind of just see the whole. I see the whole story. On stage. And then it's like I'm just a small part of it. And then I think it just kind of grew of understanding and just listening to directors talk about sound cues, and then you learn about lighting and all this stuff. And after a while, I realized that I wasn't scared anymore as an actor. Like opening night as an actor, I'm not nervous. Anymore. Even
with like a brand new play?
As an actor?
Yeah.
No, as an actor, I just don't get nervous anymore. It's I love the work.
Yeah.
But it's the rehearsal hall that I love. And I'm just finding it, unless I'm with the right group of people that want to work until we close, performing is just becoming a more challenging.
Right.
So
you're feeling you're moving more towards the directing as the calling?
Oh, I pretty much I just direct now.
Okay.
I try to act at least once a year or a season to in order for me to be the director that I want to be for actors. I don't want to I can't lose that perspective of being an actor, or I don't think that I'd be the type of director that will always understand actors, understand what they're going through. Yeah. But also the creative process changes all the time, and if one is not current with the generational change in the creative process, then as a director, I don't think that you can be constantly growing. But that's just me.
You know.
That's not a freaking thesis of
but I think it's
of how you should be a good director. It just works for me.
I think that it's a completely it makes sense that you would want to act to be a better director.
Yeah, and that's just me. Like, there's like, I've got a great, like Alan Dilworth, I think is like, I bow down to Mr. Dilworth. And, he doesn't have to be an actor to become a better director. He just grows and grows and grows.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just talking about my recipe. It's not like a blanket, for everybody. That's all.
Do you remember the first show that you directed?
The first show I directed, I believe, professionally. Okay, no, I did, oh my God, you're asking me this. I think, other than something stupid in high school, I think, Sue Garay wrote this play called Simple Celibate Sober, and I directed it for the Fringe Festival. Mm-hmm. And then right after that, I was asked to do my first professional play.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, my first professional play was directing Colin Wagner's The Monument.
Okay.
For Obsidian.
Right.
That was nominated for like 7 Doras or something like that. Yeah.
What was your path to your time at a factory? Because you were co-artistic director with Nina at one time. Is that?
Yeah. Nina and I we were the co-artistic directors for 4 years together. Yeah.
Yeah. How did that come about that you were chosen as co-artistic directors?
Well, we applied for the leadership, for the artistic directorship as a team.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we were both had great relationship with the factory theater, and Ken Gass was our mentor for years and years, and the well-being and the health of that organization was always important for us. But no, we applied together, and I remember her asking me, "Are you going to do it?" It's like, "No, I'm going to do it if you do it." So we just thought we'd just do it together.
Huh.
We work really well as a team, and I love that woman. She's smarter than you and I put together.
Yeah. I've had the pleasure of interviewing her. It's a really good conversation, so you can really sort of see what she's doing.
Yeah, and I think our dynamic was really great with each other, because she's like a silent thinker, and I'm
It was interesting because you guys took over the factory at sort of a tumultuous time. There was the Ken Gass leaving or being pushed out, and factory was taking a lot of flack from the community, and then you guys came in, and I don't know if any of that flack came on you or
a lot of shit came on us, but we took it. It's, they a lot of ways better us than somebody else.
Yeah. Did you expect that the flack would continue
for as long as it did?
As long as it did, or
no. I think that if anything else, that's why we were kind of surprised that it lasted for as long as it did. But it was there's people that were hurt, and it was emotional, and I don't think that you can have any real expectations on anyone's emotions healing and things like that. But we we were we loved it, and we loved Ken, and the theater now is incredibly healthy and has a fantastic identity and a new brand, and I believe people still love going there, and Nina is just I think that Nina should just be running all arts organizations in this country.
I would actually like, if she could clone herself, it might be really good for the arts organization.
If you gave her more files on that desk, she would be able to do it. As long as you give her enough chocolate and coffees. So,
now you've given everybody the secret. But I love the work that she's doing there, because like you were saying, she's just fucking doing it.
Yeah,
just putting people of color on that stage, and not really making a big deal out of it. It just is.
It shouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't.
But I don't know. I think it's more than optics. I think sure, it might be easier for Nina to do because she's she's a woman of color, or she's from the Philippines, and so she's experiencing the world as a young woman, but as a non-white artists in this country that has been white dominated. And so we see the world differently than whites. And so it's not an effort for us to instigate that practice, because that practice is just who we are, and it's who Nina is. And it's when you muscle it is when it becomes tokenism. It's when you muscle it is when you don't understand it. Yeah. And when you muscle it is when you actually start becoming blind of people's cultures and ethnicities.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. At what point did you get involved in Other Side of the Game? Were you there in the early days, or did you just come in for the production?
Maybe like around like the 50-yard line. Okay. Amanda Parris and had been working on the play that went through its own growth, and then Cahoots started working with Amanda. Marjorie Chan became the dramaturg, and I think they did a couple of workshops of it. I'm actually the wrong person asking of the early growth, but Marjorie Chan, the artistic director of Cahoots, for those listening that don't know Marjorie Chan, asked me, I think it was it last year? Where are we right now? In October?
You're October, yeah.
No, so it was like about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
That she asked me if I wanted to come on to direct a workshop of the play, and directing a workshop of the play, with the understanding of if we were both mutually interested of being the director for the production. And so I came on for a workshop of it last year, September. So September of 2016. Okay. And and then started working with Amanda, and then I just kind of got hooked on the play and what she was tackling, and the craft. And also I hadn't had an opportunity to work with Cahoots before, so there was like a lot of great ships that were coming together at the same time. Yeah. So I guess the short answer is a year and a half ago.
I mean, this question might seem like it's self-evident, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What is it that you saw in the play that you felt like you needed to tackle?
I wanted to tackle the issues of race, and the investigation of racial of criminal injustice, the injustice of the criminal system, and also because right away I realized that I didn't know very much about the civil rights movement, or the activism that was happening in the 70s in Toronto, and a lot of my attraction to the play and curiosity was kind of sparked about what I did not know. And so how much I didn't know about it, it was kind of scary. Yeah. And I kind of just take things down that scare the shit out of me. So because my wife always says that I will only do things that I don't understand, right, or I don't know how to do. Okay. I get attracted to the place that I don't know what the fuck am I going to do with this shit. Yeah. Not to devalue, but to me. And so it scares the crap out of me. And so I get closer to the first day of rehearsal, and I get more and more stressed because I feel like I've done absolutely no research, although there's 82 pages of it. And I don't know what I'm doing. And then I have to be reminded that that's how I feel before every first day of school. But if it scares me, then I'm generally attracted to it now.
When you're working like that, when you don't know what you're going to do with it, are you just figuring it out as you go? Do you learn with the actors, or do you find that you knew all along? I kind of knew all along, but it doesn't come into place until you have your collaborators with you. And that's why I love actors, in which I can have an idea, but it's not until, or even a way of moving through the play, but it's not going to blossom. It's not going to make sense until you have your collaborators, which is your actors and your designers. I love
being a director because you can get a group of really talented people together and let them do what they do.
Yeah.
And if I'm shepherding these great minds, then if I'm shepherding it well, then something incredible is going to happen.
Right.
In a lot of ways, it's just articulating some of my ideas, but letting them go.
Yeah.
Like, I love being surprised. Having a conversation with a set designer. Joanna Yu is the set designer for Other Side of the Game. And I'm always just surprised about what she comes back with.
Right.
Because your initial conversation is like, oh, I'm thinking about this, and this is what the play means to me. And you just have these design jams, these gabs. Mm-hmm. And then I want to be surprised with a couple of weeks later when she comes back, so I'm thinking about this. It's like, there's no way I would have fucking thought about that.
Right. Of course.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so now I will fit some ideas inside that environment.
Yeah.
And then so it blossomed from there. And then Caitlin Hickey is the lighting designer, and what she brings to it is something that is beyond my imagination. Yeah. Vern Good, who is the sound designer, who I collaborate with a lot, she brings it just, and Rachel Forbes is the costume designer. So I want the designers to come with their creativity. Mm-hmm. and like, I'm not the fucking boss of it. I'm the boss of their creativity. I just try to show I try to articulate and show the road in which I'd like to go down. But how they go down that road, and in what vehicles we go down that road, that becomes collaborative. That's not probably the best metaphor, but that's all I had right now.
No, it's good.
I'm tired.
It's good.
Yeah.
Are you on the social media? Are you on Facebook, Twitter?
No, I refuse to be on Facebook. I will never be on Facebook. You'll never find me on Facebook.
No,
I'm on Twitter.
Yeah,
I'm on Twitter. I started a Twitter account because when I was co-artistic director at Factory. Mm-hmm. But
is it defunct, or do you tweet still, or?
No, it's not defunct. It's still there. I'm with Twitter, I think the thing is that what I've learned about Twitter is that I don't think I've found my voice on Twitter. So
sure.
And I'm not a ooh, like, look at ain't this cat cute kind of guy.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of like, sometimes I'm on it, sometimes I'm not. Like, Twitter kind of bugs the shit out of me because I could spend my whole day scrolling, and I don't like spending my whole day scrolling. No,
of course. Yeah.
I don't like looking into my phone.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy some things of what other people are saying. Mm-hmm. But I'm not. I know this is going to kill me, but I'm not on social media very much, and I've got I kind of resist social media.
It can be a time suck.
Yeah, it is.
Totally be a time suck, and you're doing other things, and you don't need the time suck.
Yeah, seriously, I'd rather spend the time with my daughters or mow the fucking lawn than be looking at Twitter. But also, Facebook is something I was never interested in because when I left high school for a reason.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be found. I don't, like, if there's a party and I didn't know about it because it was Facebook, well, then I've been to that party. Yeah. Like, then I missed it. Like, if someone wanted to invite me to a party, they'd invite me.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what on Facebook I've missed or I'm missing.
You probably haven't missed much. I mean, I always wish that, because, eventually everybody's the high school people, that even the people you don't want to know anymore, they always find you. And I always wish there was like a "Are you fucking kidding me?" button when you get like a friend request from somebody that you're like, "Are you kidding?"
And there is. It's actually not going on Facebook. Like, there's lots of there are people from high school that it would be great to see, but there's also I'm an escapist. I like to play different sound, like, I like to move forward.
Sure. Yeah.
And so and there's also, like, I don't want to be but also I think that my life in my career, my business has become like it's very public.
Yeah.
As being an actor, being an artist, I'm at a disadvantage in which at any given night between 200 or 1,000 people can watch you perform.
Yes.
And I don't know you.
Yes.
And then, you kind of bump into and I think it's great. It's like, oh my, I saw you in that. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. But after a while, like, I think that what it is, like, I'm aggressive about my privacy. Mm-hmm. I'm quite violent about that. Well, you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
And so, and then when I got married, and then when I have children, I'm just even more,
Sure.
I'm very protective of my space that does not get shared with with the art that I make or the art that I'm involved in.
Sure.
So I think that's why I I stay quiet and on social media. And also I think that my art is my activism.
Sure.
And so if I have something to say, then just if you look at the plays that I do, mm-hmm. then you'll know what I feel about that fucking politics. Mm.
Cool. Can I ask you what your Twitter handle is? Or
it's NSW Nigel.
Okay, cool.
I don't
don't worry about it. I'll find it.
It's Nigel NSW or NSW Nigel.
I will find it.
You'll find it.
I will find it.
Yeah.
And
it's Nigel Shawn Williams.
Yeah.
Not Nigel Williams.
Okay.
There was a lot of Nigel Williamses. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you doing this.
I really enjoyed the conversation too, awesome. And thanks for inviting me on it.
Great. Thank you.
It's nice meeting you.